A man married to a horse, confrontations with the KKK, sex confessions that'll put a priest to shame. If you thrive on trashy television, absolutely unhinged daytime TV shows, and fiery Dr. Phil takedowns, you have one man to thank for: Jerry Springer's. The legendary host ran a marathon of 4,000 shows and gave tabloid TV a new standard for the shock factor. And for the last time in a shocking turn of events, Jerry Springer's unexpectedly passed away at the age of 79. And the cause of his death is quite puzzling. Was Jerry sick? Let's find out. Straightforward, despicable, ingenious. The Trash King. Call him whatever you want and hate him however you want, but if you can't admit that Jerry changed the game for boring daytime TV, you're lying to yourself. This is exactly why his sudden death left his fans and haters alike quite distraught. It was April 27, 2023. Jerry was spending time in his home in Evanston, Chicago, surrounding family and friends. And suddenly, he passed away. For a man whose life had been a public show for decades, we didn't know much about his last days. Not only was he awfully cryptic and private about his life, he had mostly disappeared from the public eye for a year or so. Well, he was as MIA as a man of his reputation could be. Sure, he'd get popped here and there, but any deets from television? None. Zitch. Nada. You can only imagine the storm on the internet when his family released a brief, almost mysterious statement regarding his death. In the early morning of April 27, Jerry had passed away peacefully. Later on, his spokesperson also confirmed the news without giving away any deets regarding his client, which is, well, odd to say the least. Jerry wasn't exactly about keeping his life hush-hush from the world. He was a man of many words, and rarely shied from telling things how they are. Turns out his family or the spokesperson didn't exactly vibe with that memo. The only indication that we got was that he was briefly sick. As his fans mourned the death of the legendary trendsetter, they also awaited answers. In the meanwhile, the news of Jerry's passing broke the internet, and many of his fellow celebrities poured love and condolences. You might not be the biggest fan of everything that Jerry stirred up on the tame, innocent daytime television, but when you successfully change the industry by setting trends, even your worst critics would tip their hat in front of you. Jerry made the television fun, breaking it away from the norms of hosting bubblegum celebrities and their recycled responses to overstated questions. Springer's show was about the commoners who weren't fearful of their confessions. Sure, you can enjoy James Corden and his corny segments, but people perhaps wanted to talk about the woman who married her ex-husband's dad and became his mother. Trashy, but fun. For Jerry's time, that was bold. So, it was only fair that television hosts and anchors paid their respect to the era when daytime shows weren't dull. Megyn Kelly, the popular Fox News personality, recalled Springer's fascinating stories and his love for his country, America. Steve Wilkos, who was the recurring face on The Jerry Springer Show, called the host the most influential man in his life after his dad. Wilkos was heavily nurtured by the man himself, and then went on to headline a daytime show of his own. And then, of course, Piers Morgan jumped in too. He called the iconic TV host intelligent, warm, and funny man. For once, we can't really disagree with Piers now, can we? Maury Povich was also quite saddened by the news. While talking to People, he said, "He was joyful, smart, and in his own way, a unique showman. I will miss him." All praises for Jerry Springer. Not to mention, for years, Povich was a friendly TV rival to the Jerry Springer Show. Even then, the TV host was able to admit that Springer's wasn't just your average Joe. He didn't just change television, he radicalized it. Many similar sentiments made their way to television and the internet. In the midst of love and grief, TMZ broke the news on the host's cause of death. And let's just say, we didn't see that one coming. Devils work hard, but TMZ works harder. There wasn't much buzz about the cause of Jerry Springer's death, but one tabloid couldn't help but to dig around. Before the former TV host's close friends and family could officially confirm that he was sick, TMZ was already coming out with piping hot rumors. News on the tabloid was that Springer's had cancer, and he had done a great deal with concealing the news from the world. But most couldn't buy into it. Sure, Jerry wasn't doing his next project on TV, neither was he politically active, yet he also seemed fine. Turns out, it was all a big sham, a drama, if you will. The beloved daytime headliner just wanted to go gently into that good night. So, he preferred to keep the devastating news of his fatal illness on the DL. We don't have much deets on this matter, but it seems like Jerry's family got the whiff of TMZ's not-so-subtle digging. And the Springer spokesperson and a close friend, Gene Galvin, broke the news himself. According to Gavin, his lifelong friend passed away due to a severe case of pancreatic cancer. Jerry's battle with the disease was pretty stable, and it seemed like he'll make it. But nature had different plans. While the trendsetter wasn't admitted to the hospital, he was making frequent visits to his doctor. But overall, he was pushing himself to beat cancer, and everything seemed fine until it wasn't. Jerry Springer's was at his place when his condition worsened suddenly. Even though his interaction with a deteriorating case of cancer was brief, it was enough to put him through the line. In very tragic news, the daytime TV host passed away quite peacefully, surrounded by family and other loved ones. The ringmaster is survived by his former wife, Mickey Velton, and a 47-year-old daughter, Katie Springers. While there's little info regarding Jerry's condition and his fight with cancer, many seem to link his illness with his decision to retire from television. Well, technically, Springer's went on a sabbatical, but now it seems like he had no plans to become the next comeback kid. 40 years on TV and 10 years in politics, Jerry Springer's knew how to break a sweat without ever taking a break. And yes, you don't deliver 4,000 absolute banger episodes of your show if you don't have the knack for committing to your jobs. In the nicest way possible, Springer's was a workaholic. But a year earlier, he shocked the news reports when he announced his break from TV. He had agreed to show up here and there, but wasn't interested in channeling his main character energy. Which was a bummer, of course. Even at the raw age of 78, Springer's could have given any factory reset TV hosts a run for their money. He was the realist, said things for they were, and gosh, he knew how to land a joke. So his sudden retirement was a little sus. Now, his fans believe that he quietly decided to quit the show when he was diagnosed with cancer. You see, Jerry loved to make an entrance, but more importantly, he loved to leave a mark. It would make sense why he would just leave with a bang, without even causing any media attention towards his illness. Yet we're about to put this theory to an eternal rest. Yep, it doesn't hold up. The truth is far more tragic than you'll realize. Turns out, Jerry's battle with cancer wasn't prolonged at all. He was only diagnosed a few months earlier than his death, and was just learning the ropes of living with a fatal disease. By the time he retired from the all big and small screens, he was cancer-free and lived a healthy life. All things considered, we'd be inclined to believe when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, it was already too late. The cancer stage was perhaps irrevocable, and Jerry wanted less of a hassle around his health. What actually caused his retirement was the final push in his career. When his 2019 show, Judge Jerry, was ultimately cancelled, Springer's decided to wind down. The show had a 3-season run on NBC and was barely hanging by a thread. It seemed like Jerry Springer's magic touch didn't work. The show had low viewership and bad ratings. You know the cancellation was organic. Then Jerry just wanted to enjoy a retirement period before it was too late. He himself admitted that at the age of 78, he wants to spend his time doing stuff he actually likes and not always pop up in front of a camera. Before he could hit the sack forever, he wanted to enjoy his days off. Unfortunately, his vacay time was cut short due to the cancer diagnosis. Looking back, the former TV host has left a legacy of making trashy television's everyone's guilty pleasure. And that's a huge W. So, R.I.P. Jerry Springer's, gone but never forgotten. It's a wrap for this video. To keep up with the know-abouts of celebrities, subscribe to our channel and leave a like. See you soon!